Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Extreme Expat Stories of Thailand. Before I share this incredible story from Mike in Texas, I need to warn you, this is going to hit different. What you're about to hear isn't just another Farang gets scammed story. This is about how a 48-year-old math teacher searching for happiness turned into a psychological thriller that cost him everything. Grab a coffee because this one's going to stay with you long after you finish hearing it. Hey, I hope you don't mind me writing in like this, but after watching your channel for months, I finally worked up the courage to share what happened to me. My name's Mike. I'm 48, from Austin, Texas. And 18 months ago, I made a decision that changed everything. Looking back now, I wish someone had grabbed me by the shoulders and shaken some sense into me before I boarded the plane with a one-way ticket to what I thought would be paradise. Let me paint you a picture of where I was mentally when this all started. December 2023. I was sitting in my empty apartment in Austin, staring at a divorce decree and a pink slip from the community college where I'd been teaching calculus for 12 years. 12 years of explaining derivatives to kids who'd rather be anywhere else. 12 years of faculty meetings about budget cuts. 12 years of catching my marriage slowly die over dinner table arguments about money and dreams we'd given up on. My ex-wife, Mary, had been brutally honest in our final conversation. Mike, you've been sleepwalking through life for so long. I don't even know who you are anymore. She wasn't wrong. I gained 40 pounds, stopped caring about how I looked, stopped dreaming about anything beyond my next paycheck. I was the definition of a midlife crisis waiting to happen. But here's the thing. Sometimes rock bottom becomes the foundation you build your new life on. At least, that's what I told myself as I cashed out my 401k, sold everything I owned, and bought a one-way ticket to Bangkok. I remember a trip to Thailand 5 years earlier, before the marriage really went south, and how alive I'd felt walking through the night markets in Chiang Mai, watching monks collect alms at sunrise, feeling like I was part of something bigger than my small, suffocating existence in Texas. January 15th of 2024. I'll never forget stepping off that plane at Chiang Mai International Airport. The warm, humid air hit me like a gentle slap in the face. So different from the bitter Austin winter I'd left behind. The smell of street food, incense, and blooming flowers mixed with exhaust fumes in a way that somehow made perfect sense. This was it. This was where I was going to reinvent myself. I found a little studio apartment in Niman Hemin. You know the area, right where all the digital nomads hang out, with the trendy cafes and co-working spaces. 8,000 baht a month for a place that would have cost me $1,200 back home. I was living like a king on my modest savings, eating incredible food for $2 a meal, getting Thai massages for $8, feeling like I'd cracked some secret code to happiness. Those first few weeks were intoxicating in a way I'd never experienced. Every morning I'd wake up and think, holy shit, I actually did it. I actually escaped. I'd ride my rented scooter through the old city, stopping at random temples, practicing my terrible Thai with patient vendors who'd giggle at my pronunciation. I felt younger, lighter, more alive than I had in years. But here's what nobody tells you about the expat honeymoon phase. It's designed to make you drop your guard completely. Every day was an adventure. Every interaction felt meaningful. Every sunset looked like a postcard. I was high on the exotic nature of it all, drunk on the idea that I was this adventurous guy who'd had the balls to start over in Southeast Asia. I started hanging out at the expat bars, listening to guys who'd been there for decades tell their stories. Some were cautionary tales, bitter old men who'd lost everything to Thai women, visa scams, failed business ventures. But others seemed to have figured it out, living comfortable lives with beautiful Thai wives, successful businesses, genuine happiness. I wanted to be in that second category so badly I could taste it. February 8th of 2024. It was a Sunday, and I was wandering through one of those temple fairs that pop up around Chiang Mai. You know the ones, with the carnival games and food stalls and families enjoying their day off. I was feeling a bit lonely, if I'm honest. The novelty of being alone in paradise was starting to wear thin, and I was craving some human connection beyond small talk with other expats. That's when I saw her. Ploy was running a small food stall with her sister, selling kanom jin and fish cakes that smelled incredible. She couldn't have been more than 28, with this shy smile and dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. No makeup, just natural beauty and this calm, gentle energy that immediately put me at ease. When I approached her stall, she looked up and said, "Sabai di ka, you want try?" In English that was broken, but sweet. I ordered way more food than I could eat, just to have an excuse to stay and talk. She'd serve other customers, then come back to check on me, asking if the food was too spicy, if I needed more water, treating me like I was the most important person at that fair. When I complimented her cooking in my terrible Thai, she laughed. Not in a mocking way, but with genuine delight, like I just told her the funniest joke she'd ever heard. "You speak Thai a little bit," she said, and I could see she was impressed. Most Farang don't even try. We talked for over an hour between customers. She told me she was from a village north of Chiang Mai, that her father had been a police sergeant before retiring, that she'd moved to the city to help her younger sister study engineering at Chiang Mai University. She asked about Texas, about why I'd come to Thailand, listened intently when I explained that I was looking for a new start after my divorce. "Divorce very sad," she said, her eyes full of genuine sympathy. "But now you're free, can be happy." When I asked if she'd like to get dinner sometime, she hesitated for a moment, then smiled. "I like that. You seem like a good man." Our first real date was at a local khao soi place in the old city. Not some tourist trap, but a tiny shop where Ploy's family had been eating for years. She insisted on ordering for both of us, explaining each dish as it arrived, teaching me how to eat properly with chopsticks and a spoon. I was enchanted by everything. Her laugh, the way she'd cover her mouth when she smiled, how she'd patiently correct my Thai pronunciation without making me feel stupid. "You want to learn real Thai culture?" she asked. "Not just tourist things?" Over the next few weeks, she became my guide to a Thailand I never would have discovered on my own. We'd visit her grandmother's house in a village I can't even pronounce, where I was fed until I thought I'd explode and treated like family despite not speaking the language. We'd go to local festivals, temple ceremonies, places where I was often the only Farang for miles. The intimacy was also incredible, passionate in a way I hadn't experienced in years of marriage that had become routine. Ploy was uninhibited, affectionate, always touching me, holding my hand, calling me her handsome Farang boyfriend in that sweet, accented English. I felt desired in a way that made me forget I was a slightly overweight, middle-aged, divorced guy. But it wasn't just physical. She seemed genuinely interested in my life, my dreams, my fears. She'd ask about my teaching, about mathematics, listening intently when I'd explained concepts like calculus was the most fascinating thing in the world. She'd cook for me, not just Thai food, but attempting Western dishes because I want to make food you love from home. Looking back, I can see how perfectly she played the role of the devoted Thai girlfriend. But at the time, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. Here was this beautiful, kind woman who seemed to adore me, who made me feel like the man I'd always wanted to be, but never thought I could become. About 3 months in, I started noticing little things that should have set off alarm bells. Ploy would disappear for hours at a time, claiming she had to help her family with various emergencies. Her phone would ring late at night, and she'd step outside to take calls in hushed tones. When I asked about it, she'd say it was family business, nothing for me to worry about. Thai family very close, she'd explain. Always have problems, need to solve. I wanted to believe her because the alternative was too scary to consider. I was falling in love, real, deep, all-consuming love that made me feel like a teenager again. The thought that this might not be real was something my brain simply refused to process. Then came the first request for money. "Mike," she said one evening over dinner, looking upset. "My sister need money for university. Very emergency. Only 20,000 baht. I'll pay you back soon." $600. Not a huge amount, but it caught me off guard. In America, 3 months into a relationship, asking for money would be a major red flag. But this was Thailand. Different culture, different rules. And Ploy seemed genuinely distressed about her sister's situation. I gave her the money. 2 weeks later, it was her mother's medical bills. Then her father's motorcycle needed repairs. Each request was accompanied by tears, by explanations about how Thai families support each other, by promises that this was the last time. And each time I said yes, because I loved her and because turning down someone I cared about seemed impossibly cruel. The expat bars were full of guys who'd warn me about exactly this scenario. They all have sick buffaloes was the running joke. Always some family emergency that requires Western Union. But I thought Ploy was different. I thought what we had was special. 6 months in, we started talking about marriage and long-term visas. I was on a tourist visa, doing visa runs every couple of months. But it was getting expensive and exhausting. Ploy suggested we get married so I could get a marriage visa, stay in Thailand permanently. "We love each other," she said. "Why not make it official?" The idea terrified and excited me in equal measure. Marriage to a Thai woman would mean commitment not just to her, but to her entire family. to a culture I was still learning to navigate. But it also meant I could build a real life here, put down roots, stop feeling like a perpetual tourist. That's when she brought up the house. Farang cannot own land in Thailand, she explained. But we can buy a house together, put in my name, but for both of us, make family home. I should have done my research. I should have consulted a lawyer, talked to other expats, understood the laws around foreign property ownership. But I was in love. I trusted her. And the idea of having a real home with Ploy seemed like the next natural step in our relationship. We found a small house in Hang Dong, about 20 minutes outside of Chiang Mai. Nothing fancy. 2 bedrooms, a small garden, a view of rice fields. But it felt like home from the moment we walked through the door. Ploy was so excited she cried, calling her mother immediately to share the news. Now we have real life together, she said, holding my hands. Now I know you're serious about me. The house cost 1.8 million baht, about $50,000. I had that much in savings from selling everything in Austin, plus some money left from my 401k. It felt like a big step, but also like an investment in our future together. I should have known better when the lawyer insisted all the paperwork be in Thai, with Ploy translating. I should have gotten a second opinion when she explained that the property had to be 100% in her name for legal reasons. I should have listened to the little voice in my head that said this was moving too fast. But I was high on love, drunk on the possibility of a new life, and desperate to prove to myself I wasn't the failure of my ex-wife had implied I was. So I signed the papers, transferred the money, and became the proud owner of exactly nothing. The first few months in our new house were blissful. We'd wake up to roosters crowing and rice farmers starting their day, eat breakfast on our little porch, plan our future together over coffee and fresh fruit from the garden. Ploy seemed happier than ever, more affectionate, more committed to our relationship. But gradually, things started to change. She began staying out later, claiming she had to work extra shifts at her new job she'd gotten at a hotel in town. When I offered to pick her up after work, she'd say it wasn't necessary, that her friends could give her rides. She became secretive about her phone, taking it with her to the bathroom, stepping outside when it rang. Why you always worry? She'd ask when I questioned her. You not trust me? The guilt trips became more frequent and more sophisticated. If I expressed any concern about her behavior, I was being a jealous Farang who didn't understand Thai culture. If I mentioned feeling lonely when she was gone for hours, I was being needy and possessive. Somehow, every conversation about our relationship problems became about my shortcomings as a boyfriend. Meanwhile, the requests for money intensified. Her cousin needed surgery. Her nephew's school fees were due. The family buffalo actually did get sick, I kid you not. Each crisis was presented as a temporary emergency, and each time I was made to feel like refusing would prove I didn't really love her. I was hemorrhaging money, probably $15,000 over 6 months. But I told myself this was part of being in a relationship with someone from a different economic background. In Thailand, the man provides for the woman's family. It was cultural, not personal. At least that's what I kept telling myself as my bank account dwindled and Ploy became more distant. The turning point came on a Tuesday night in November. I'd been feeling sick with food poisoning and had come home early from an expat meetup to rest. Ploy had said she'd be working late at the hotel. Wouldn't be home until after midnight. At 9 p.m., I heard her laugh outside. I looked out the window and saw her getting off a motorcycle with a man I didn't recognize. Older, European, well dressed. They were standing very close, her hand on his arm, looking comfortable in a way that made my stomach drop. She kissed him on the cheek before he drove away, then walked into our house like nothing had happened. "You're home early," she said when she saw me, but there was no surprise in her voice, just mild annoyance. "Who was that?" I asked. "Friend from work. He gave me a ride home." "You kissed him?" "Thai way to say goodbye. You not understand cause you Farang." Even as she said it, I could see in her eyes that she knew I didn't believe her. And for the first time, she didn't seem to care whether I believed her or not. That night, lying in bed next to her, I felt more alone than I had since arriving in Thailand. The woman I'd fallen in love with, the woman I'd bought a house for, the woman I was planning to marry, felt like a complete stranger. Over the next few weeks, I became a person I didn't recognize. Suspicious, jealous, constantly checking up on her. I'd drive by her supposed workplace and not see her there. I'd call during times she said she was working and she wouldn't answer. The sweet, affectionate woman I'd fallen in love with was increasingly replaced by someone cold, irritated, impatient with my questions. "You changed too much," she told me one night. "Before you happy, fun. Now you always angry, always ask question. I don't like this, Mike." She wasn't wrong. I was becoming someone I didn't like either. But I felt like I was losing my mind, watching the woman I love slip away while pretending nothing was happening. The final blow came just before Christmas. "I need money for my father," she said. "He have accident with motorbike. Need surgery." This time it was $5,000, a significant chunk of what I had left. "Can I see the medical bills?" I asked. Her face changed instantly. "You not trust me? After everything I do for you, you think I lie?" "I just want to understand what's happening. What's happening is my family need help and my boyfriend care more about money than people he's supposed to love." I gave her the money. Of course I did. Because despite everything, I still loved her. Still hoped we could work things out. Still believed that underneath all the confusion and hurt, we had something real. 3 days later, I saw her father at the market, perfectly healthy, riding the same motorbike he'd supposedly crashed. I confronted her that night. "Your father isn't hurt," I said. "I saw him today." For a moment, her mask completely slipped. I saw something in her eyes, not guilt, not shame, but annoyance at being caught. "You spy on my family now?" "I just happened to see him. He's fine, Ploy. There was no accident." She stared at me for a moment, and I could practically see her deciding whether to keep up the charade or abandon it entirely. She chose abandonment. "Okay, yes, no accident, but I still need money for other things. You don't understand Thai life. Farang never understand." The casual way she admitted to lying, the complete lack of remorse, the implication that I was the problem for not understanding, it was like a slap in the face. "What other lies have you told me?" "I never lie about important things, only about small things you worry too much about." That night, I didn't sleep. I lay next to her wondering how many small lies I'd been told. How much of our relationship had been real. whether the woman I'd fallen in love with had even existed at all. I woke up the next morning to an empty house. Not just empty of Ploy, empty of her things, her clothes, her toiletries, the little decorations she'd added to make the place feel like home. It was like she'd been systematically erased from the house we'd supposedly built together. At first, I thought maybe she'd gone to stay with her family, needed a space to think about our fight. I called her phone, disconnected. I went to the hotel where she'd supposedly worked. They'd never heard of her. I spent the day driving around Chiang Mai, checking all our usual spots, asking mutual friends if they'd seen her. Nothing. It was like she'd vanished into thin air. That evening, desperate and increasingly panicked, I went to her family's village. Her mother answered the door, looked at me with barely concealed hostility, and said in broken English, "Ploy not here. You go now." "Where is she? Is she okay? We had a fight, but I love her. She not want to see you. Better you go back America." The door closed in my face. 2 days later, I was sitting at a coffee shop in Niman, staring at my phone and wondering if I should book a flight back to Austin. That's when I saw them. Ploy and the European man I'd seen her with before, walking hand in hand down the street like they didn't have a care in the world. She was wearing a dress I'd bought her, laughing at something he'd said, looking happier than I'd seen her in months. They stopped at a real estate office. Without thinking, I followed them inside, staying far enough back to avoid being seen. I watched as they looked at property listings, as she pointed to photos and spoke animatedly in Thai, as he nodded and pulled out a credit card. They were buying a house together. The pieces fell into place with sickening clarity. The late nights, the mysterious phone calls, the increasing emotional distance. She'd been planning her exit for months, lining up her next mark while squeezing every last baht out of me. I wasn't her boyfriend. I was her transition plan. I won't lie to you. The next few weeks were the darkest of my life. I'd lost my house, my savings, my girlfriend, and my faith in my own judgment all at once. I was 48 years old, broke, alone in a foreign country, with no idea how to rebuild my life. I moved into a cheap guest house and spent my days trying to figure out my options. The house was legally Ploy's. I had no recourse, no way to recover my money. My tourist visa was expiring, and without a Thai wife to sponsor me, I'd have to leave the country. I went to the police, but they just shrugged. "Up to you," the officer said. "This happened all the time." I consulted with a lawyer who confirmed what I already knew. I had no legal standing, no way to get my money back, no recourse beyond accepting that I'd been comprehensively scammed by someone I'd trusted completely. The psychological impact was almost worse than the financial one. I'd prided myself on being smart, educated, worldly. How had I fallen for something so obvious in retrospect? How had I ignored so many red flags? How had I let myself be manipulated so completely? I spent my last few weeks in Thailand trying to understand what had happened to me. I talked to other expats who'd had similar experiences, read forums full of cautionary tales, tried to piece together the psychology of what I'd experienced. Here's what I learned. Thailand attracts a certain type of Western man, often older, often recently divorced, often looking for a fresh start and willing to believe in fairy tales. We're easy targets because we're lonely, we're generous, and we want desperately to believe that we found something real. The women who target us aren't necessarily evil. They're often from poor backgrounds, supporting extended families, using the only resources they have, their youth and beauty, to secure their financial future. In their minds, they're not scamming us. They're surviving in an economy that gives them few other options. But that doesn't make the pain any less real or the betrayal any less devastating. The warning signs were all there, but I ignored them because I was high on the feeling of being desired, needed, important. I thought I was rescuing Ploy from poverty when actually she was rescuing herself, using me as a stepping stone to something better. I flew back to Austin on January 15th in 2025, exactly 1 year after I'd arrived in Thailand, full of hopes and dreams. I had $3,000 to my name, no job, no house, and a credit card debt that would take years to pay off. My ex-wife, to her credit, let me stay in her guest room while I got back on my feet. "You look different," she said. "Older." I felt older. I felt like I'd aged a decade in the past year, learned lessons I wish I'd never had to learn. It's been 6 months now since I got back. I'm teaching at a community college again, slowly paying down my debts, trying to rebuild my life at 49. Some days are harder than others. Some days I wake up and for a split second I expect to see rice fields outside my window, smell street food cooking, hear Ploy's voice calling me for breakfast. But I'm healing, slowly, painfully, but surely. I'm sharing this story not because I want sympathy, but because I want other men to learn from my mistakes. Thailand is an incredible country with wonderful people, but it's also a place where lonely foreign men can lose everything if they're not careful. If you're considering a move to Thailand, or if you're already there and falling for someone, please consider these lessons I learned too late. Take your time. Real love doesn't require urgent financial decisions. Don't put property in someone else's name, no matter how much you trust them. Pay attention to red flags, even when your heart wants to ignore them. Keep your finances separate until you're absolutely sure about someone's intentions. Learn the laws about foreign property ownership before you need them. Most importantly, remember that if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. The beautiful young woman who seems to adore you might genuinely care about you, but she might also be playing a long game you don't even realize you're part of. I'm not bitter about Thailand or Thai people. I'm bitter about my own naivety, my willingness to be blinded by love, my desperate need to feel special that made me ignore obvious warning signs. But I'm also grateful in a strange way. I learned who I really am when everything was stripped away. I learned that I'm stronger than I thought, more resilient than I believed possible. I learned that rock bottom can indeed become the foundation for something better. If you're reading this and seeing yourself in my story, please be careful. Please be smart. Please protect yourself in ways I failed to protect myself. And if you're already in too deep, know that it's possible to survive this, to recover, to rebuild. It won't be easy, but it's possible. Thailand will always be there. Make sure you'll be there too, with your dignity and your bank account intact. Stay safe out there. Mike, Austin, Texas, July 2025.